back. We're live on Channel 5 with Nigel Farage, Jamelia, Barbara Want and Mike Parry. Later we'll be asking whether there should be a maximum age for voting in elections and referendums, and should we have a super tax on white bread to encourage more healthy eating. But first, I'm asking, should Brexit now be scrapped? It's the day of the big vote. MPs will get to have their say on Theresa May's deal. After years of negotiations and wrangling, it's come to today, what is expected to be a huge showdown in the Commons. It's all over the front pages this morning. The Daily Mail urging MPs to put your country first. The Mirror says it's time for the Prime Minister to look for a plan B. A bit late for that. A number of MPs, including Boris Johnson, have already been urging their wavering colleagues to stand firm against Theresa May's deal. And yesterday, an embattled Prime Minister made a statement reminding them that her deal is the only deal, and to vote against it risks Brexit altogether.
People will look at the decision of this House tomorrow and ask, did we deliver on the country's vote to leave the European Union? Did we safeguard our economy, our security and our union? Or did we let the British people down?
All right, so it looks as if she will lose tonight, and then you're in a situation where Brexit's been automatically triggered for March the 29th, but there isn't any kind of deal. So, Barbara Want, at that point, would you just cancel Brexit?
Absolutely. Brexit is a total disaster. We should scrap it. Simple. Nobody is happy. And what I find really depressing about listening to Nigel Farage is that he blames everybody but himself. He blames the media, he blames the politicians, and he reduces the whole debate to slogans. Will of the people, betrayal.
Democracy, how about that?
There you go.
Is that a bad word then?
I think democracy is
You've clearly got no respect for it.
I have a lot of respect for democracy.
Really?
Yes, I do.
So scrap Brexit?
Scrap Brexit. What the government decides to do after that is up to the government. But it is an absolute disaster. It reminds me of those, when sat-navs first came in, do you remember how people would be reported as driving through a country lane because the sat-nav said, you must keep going, and then they'd come to a river, and the sat-nav didn't show it. It said, you must keep going. People drove into the river and lost their cars.
Is your point, Nigel,
like
that if we voted for it, the vote stands no matter what?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting to hear this argument against the democratic will of the people. All I would say...
Will of the people.
All I would say to Barbara is this, that when you get states where the people that make the big decisions are not directly accountable, where they can't actually be fired by the electors, it's in a situation like that where you get tyrannies and you get bad things being done. And I think one of the great arguments actually for Brexit was that we shouldn't be governed by Monsieur Barnier, by Mr Juncker. And when you think about it, you know, we have got the longest serving continuous parliament in the whole of the world, the mother of parliaments. Our democratic system has been a model for the whole of the world as we've decolonised, and you are suggesting that in this extraordinary exercise where Parliament said to the people, you make a decision, we'll abide by the result. I mean, if we become a country that turns our back on democracy, what are we in the world?
Nigel, you talked about being unable to fire people. Well, if Brexit is a disaster and you, as the proponent of Brexit, are still around, how do we fire you?
Oh, very easy. I will. Very easy. Very easy indeed.
Fire
very
you
easy
from
indeed.
What? Fire you from what? Because you don't
Brexit...
actually have a job after next March.
Well, hang on a second. If Brexit's scrapped, there'll be European elections on May the 23rd, and these.
Oh, so you think Brexit might be scrapped?
No, I said if Brexit is scrapped as you want, then these good people in the room can decide on May the 23rd to vote for me or to get rid of me. It's quite simple. But you can't get rid of Mr Juncker. You can't get rid of Monsieur Barnier. And that is why, Barbara, all over Europe, tens of millions of people are rising up against this form of European government.
Go on, Jamelia, let's have a comment from you.
I just think that you are completely ignoring the fact that it has been a catastrophe. It is not what the people voted for.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So if you agree with that,
Mrs May's made a mess of it. Yeah. A total mess of it.
Yeah, but
it's not really Brexit.
But how and why are you absolving yourself from any responsibility?
I volunteered.
Played a huge part in
I volunteered after the referendum. I volunteered. I said to the government, I would like to help you with the Brexit process. I don't want a position, I don't want a rank, and I don't want paying. but I will help you with this, particularly by going around Europe and by trying to get pressure on European negotiators to go for a sensible free trade deal.
You think they'd listen to you
no point.
after the way you've spoken about our fellow Europeans? You've disgraced
I
us
love
in the
Europe.
European
I love
Parliament.
Europe. I hate Euro bureaucrats.
You've disgraced
It's a very
us
big
in the
difference.
European Parliament.
The head of the
dreadful
European
man.
Commission, you said he
There you
had
go,
all the
you're
charisma
disgracing-
of a damp flannel.
What benefit
Well,
is
hang
there
on.
for going round and slagging off our fellow Europeans?
Compared to what happens in Prime Minister's
Okay,
press,
Nigel,
it's
Mike,
irrelevant.
you come in.
Well, that's just a comment on a fellow, European politician. I saw a cartoon this morning which sums it up for me, OK, one of the papers, and there's a guy walking down Whitehall and he's got a banner and it says, "Know your place, plebs," OK? And this is a guy who is a Remainer who is basically telling all those who voted for Brexit to shut their faces and get out of it and know their place. And that's what irritates me about the whole programme, the whole of the way it's gone ever since the go and get out vote has come. I mean, when you got people like Tony Blair travelling into Europe to see European politicians and advising them how to help screw up the Brexit vote in this country, there has been treachery abroad in this country. Treachery from politicians treachery from politicians who were asked to go and get a Brexit deal done, get us out of Europe, and who have simply not done that. They've done the opposite.
This is the language. This is the language of playground spats.
Why is it playground? Why? What facts have I got wrong?
There's so much misdirection.
It is treachery.
And you're placing
it is treachery.
attention
A
on the
former
wrong
Prime
Jamelia,
Minister.
you speak.
Sorry,
You speak.
I'm just saying that there is so much attention being placed on the wrong things. At the end of the day, what was voted for has not been delivered and has no chance of being delivered. And so we have to have an opportunity to have a referendum. That's the only way forward.
Hang on.
I was going to
Mrs May's deal gets rejected tonight. We all agree on that, all right? Article 50, which 494 MPs voted for, is very simple. It says we have a withdrawal agreement or on March the 29th, we leave on WTO rules. So why don't we, if we're proper Democrats and a proper country, honour that by leaving on WTO rules?
I'll tell you why.
Okay, well, Barbara, explain why. Because at the moment, that is what, just for people watching, it's not that nothing will happen. The default now is no deal. March the 29th, we're out. So, Barbara, what's wrong with that?
I'll tell you what's wrong for anybody watching this or anybody trying to work out if that is a good thing or a bad thing. It's we are being told by Jacob Rees-Mogg, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. At the same time, Dominic Grieve, two men in the same party, tells us it's national suicide. How are we supposed to know about what it might be? The risk, if one is right, if the risk is too great, and everything does suggest that there is a risk, I do not see why we should sell this country down the river and put people's jobs, their health, their daily lives in jeopardy. Why take that risk?
Yeah, but nothing's happened so far that was going to happen. The Project Fear never, ever happened. Old Osborne, the former Chancellor, telling us there were going to be hundreds of thousands of people out of work, that inflation was going to soar, the pound was going to collapse out of sight. None of that happened.
The pound did collapse, actually.
It's recovered very well since, and the economic figures in this country are the strongest in Europe.
Let's just, because there is a preponderance of expert opinion, you'll laugh, Nigel, that says...
we should join the euro. That's right.
Yeah,
if we don't join the euro, we're finished. I remember them very well.
Oh, sure.
Same people.
All right, so they're warning, right? Now, what do you say to people? There are people watching TV genuinely anxious at this moment in our country's history who think no deal will be very bad.
There are two things here. Right from going back to the 1970s, from the con job that got us into the common market until today, what you have are big global businesses and their friends in career politics trying to use economic arguments to frighten us to say we must be part of the big club. The honest truth is, I think with the WTO Brexit, we can become more competitive, more global and make more money. Dominic Grieve, as Barbara says, thinks it'll be an economic disaster. Who knows whether he's right or I'm right? The answer is nobody. But what I can tell you is this.
So you agree nobody knows what might happen? Is that good enough?
Well, I tell you, if you can tell me who's going to win the 3:30 at Doncaster this afternoon, I'll be very, very pleased to hear it.
Because economics, why take the risk?
Why take the risk?
Because you take the risk either way. You take the risk either way. The risk is
the other way?
that we stay part of a European Union that's now imploding upon itself. And it is. Economically, it's a basket case. If the Italian banks go bankrupt, we could find ourselves on the hook for tens of billions of bailout money. So there's risks either way. Let me tell you what WTO Brexit does do. It delivers independence. And above all, that vote in that referendum was for us to become an independent, self-governing, democratic nation.
Well, no, that is
and that needs to be delivered.
Can I just mention that referendum? And this will of the people. Did you know that since the referendum, 1.2 million people have died? Most of them were older, and most of them were highly likely to vote for leave. In that same period, 1.4 million people have come of voting age.
So what?
Yeah, but that's very presumptive.
So what?
You can say that with every election.
Those are hugely likely to want to stay. This
don't
is a
know
concept.
that.
I do know that.
That is a
fanciful. That's a figure.
No,
It's
no,
not.
that statistic is very important.
The people who die are not.
Of an analysis by YouGov.
You're trying to make out that doddery old pensioners all voted, for Brexit. They've all died. Loads of people. How do you know? Have you asked them?
We're talking about it next. We're talking about this. Hold on.
Whatever happens, Brexit is here. Whatever
Okay.
we do, it's here to stay. We're going to be having this argument for years, and I think that is tragic.
Well, it'd be very interesting because Nigel did raise the possibility of a second referendum.
Well, I don't want it,
Maybe
but I
it was
think
me.
that-
Who raised it, and you said it could well happen.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jamelia? Second referendum? Do you think it'll happen? Just your sense of it?
I think it needs to happen.
But Jamelia, would you accept the outcome of it if it was the same as the outcome of the first?
Do you know what?
You clearly don't want.
Because to me, that is a vote that people are making now that they know the facts.
So would you absolutely accept it?
Yes, I would
So-
accept
so-
it.
okay, if it was Brexit the second time, you would absolutely accept it.
Why is there so much resistance? Why is there so much resistance?
I don't think there is.
So
Why do you
would
ask
you
if Jamelia
accept
would
it?
accept it?
Because Jamelia
I'm
will
not
not accept.
resisting.
You will not accept the outcome of the first vote.
I'm not.
So I want to know whether if there's another vote, you
because
will.
those votes
All
were
right,
made
guys,
under duress
let's pause.
without the necessary information.
Just
Of course it was.
pause. We'll come back to it, okay? It's always like this when you're in a studio.
Well, it does help.
Rezi, have you got comments? I bet you have.
Yes, lots of varied comments, actually. I've picked a couple. So Dell's tweeted in to say, no, Brexit shouldn't be scrapped. Theresa May should be fulfilling her party's election manifesto pledge and delivering a proper Brexit, not the surrender she's trying to force through. But William says, of course it should. Brexit was sold on a lie and is undeliverable. As we can now see, it will make us considerably worse off economically and culturally. Do you agree or disagree? Why not give us a call?
Well, a lot of it is guesswork, isn't it, at the moment? After the break, we'll take your calls on this. Is it time to scrap Brexit? You tell us. You tell Nigel what you think. 0207 862 2222 is the number you need. Stay with us. We'll see you in a mo.